Hello, I am Krista West of Avlea Embroidery, and this is another floss tube. So, before I begin, I just want to let you know all the places you can find me. You can see all of my work, kind of all my latest efforts are on the Avlea website, which is www.avlea.life. I can also be found on Instagram with the handle kristamwest. That's just my personal Instagram, and I post a lot of whatever I'm working on at the moment. I will let you know that after doing almost daily posts for the last number of months, I'm going to start switching over to doing just like 3 times a week Instagram posts because I have so much design work to do, which is really exciting. So I'm slowing down a little bit of the social media stuff so that I can really be putting my energy and effort into more designs. So I have a lot to share with you today. As usual, it's actually been really great switching to doing once a month floss tubes because I feel like then I really have a lot to share with you of what's going on in the workshop and what's going on with my design, at any given time. So for first up, let's talk a little bit about the pomegranate collection, my newest thing on the website. I mentioned this in last month's floss tube, but I didn't have it all up and running, and now it is all up and running. And what is the pomegranate collection? So essentially, when I'm designing, because I'm working with historic textiles, I'm working with big textiles. We're talking things, 13 to 20,000 stitches is just sort of like all in a day's work for the average Greek village woman. But for many of us, that's a really big piece. And so I was getting increasingly frustrated that my sample stitching couldn't keep up with what I could be designing from historic sources. So I wanted to find a way to provide those patterns out to people, out to stitchers, without having to do a stitch sample. So I now have a whole selection of download version only. They're download version only because we haven't put them into production for like paper patterns and kits and things like that. But these are patterns based on historic designs. They are simply awesome. Check out the Penelope's Garden design. Oh my word, that's going to be my personal, I think, next stitching project because it's just so incredible. And what I've done on these patterns is the cover image, instead of being a photo of the stitch sample, it is actually the graph itself, the big charted graph. So you have a totally easy view of exactly what you're stitching. Now, that part's fun. Oh, and did I mention they're $5? Okay, so buy a new cross stitch pattern, have a cup of coffee. I think I'll take buy a new cross stitch pattern. So I've made them really affordable because I don't have all of the time and energy put into that stitch sample and photographing it and all of that kind of stuff. So, but here's the deal. This is kind of the fun part of the pomegranate collection. Now, right now, there's 6 designs on there. And these are all things that I wanted to stitch, but there just aren't enough hours in the day, unfortunately. So they're all up there now, ready to go. Now, here's the cool part. I have a lot of embroidery, personally, and in my house, and I don't need tons and tons more. So I realized, rather than stitching a bunch of samples, I was going to basically offer that out to all of you. So the way the pomegranate collection patterns work, if you choose one and you stitch it and you provide it to me to photograph and actually release as a full-blown pattern or kit, you get a $50 Avlea credit and your piece back. It's kind of a win-win. In fact, if you're dedicated, you could just totally support your stitching hobby this way. So I'm really excited about that because that basically no pattern from now on is going to be too big for me to actually release it. And that's something I've really wanted. I mean, some things I like making them in a smaller, more manageable size for the average crafter who doesn't have as much time, as say the Greek village woman who sat around 10 hours a day embroidering. Well, she probably didn't really sit around for 10 hours, but still, she at least didn't have social media. So, she had a few more hours in her day. But I want all of these big patterns that I see out there too. So just so that basically there's a very complete spectrum of what is available in Greek folk embroidery and Mediterranean folk embroidery and Balkan folk embroidery. So the pomegranate collection is live, $5 patterns, pretty darn awesome. And it's cool too because people are now emailing me and saying, oh, I'm doing this one and I'm working it in this floss color or whatever. And I'm really curious to see what all of you stitchers come up with because I've given a suggested floss colorway, but Some of them are like one color designs, like Galatian Meander is a beautiful design. And it's a one color design, so like it's going to look really amazing no matter what color you choose. So anyways, moving on. Balkan made me remember. This weekend, I've been invited to be part of the Balkan Golden Festival in Brooklyn, New York. I am not flying to Brooklyn, New York, although after COVID, that sounds super fun to go and fly to New York and go be a part of the Balkan Festival in person. But this year, because of COVID, it's all virtual. This is, I think, the oldest, maybe one of the oldest Balkan dancing and music festivals in the United States. It's been running for over 35 years, I believe. I may have some of those details wrong. But they approached me a number of months ago about presenting on Mediterranean and Balkan embroidery. So I'll be doing a presentation for that. I designed a special bit kit. It's called Bit Kit Balkan Bartizan. A bartizan is actually like the little kind of serrated-y top of a castle turret, and the design has kind of elements like that, so that's why it's called that. And that's one of our new bit kits that's available. The Balkan Bartizan, the full textile that I actually used as a source material, is on the Pomegranate Collection download page. So if you go to downloads at the Avlea website and then you just hover over that and it says, you know, regular downloads and then the Pomegranate Collection, and you pull up there, the full piece is there. It's actually a really beautiful, quite large table runner. Worked in these lovely shades of garnet and coral and with little highlights of blue and green. Really nice. So I'll be a part of that this weekend, which is kind of exciting. That's really fun. That wasn't something that I ever thought would happen, like with Avlea, but I love that I can be sharing this information and knowledge about folk embroidery in a variety of aspects. So the Balkan Festival, Balkan Golden Festival. You go out, just Google it. If you want to participate, they'll have tons of bands and dancing, and they're having a Sedenka, which is a Balkan sewing party, which is kind of like a Balkan quilting bee essentially, which is super cool. Oh, and FYI, this is so interesting. They have special songs and music that are meant to be sung while women are stitching. Oh my word, who doesn't love that? Okay, so Balkan Golden Festival, Google it. You can reserve tickets, they're free. So you just go on and like reserve your spot. And I'll be on at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So now, what's been going on in the whole design studio of Avlea lately? Well, last month, I signed up with Fair, which is sort of like wholesale Etsy. It's actually really cool. It's a wholesale platform. So look for small business to small business. So lots of small businesses like little boutiques or little general stores or little needlework shops are on Fair, and they want to find other like small business and small makers like me, who are providing little like things that are actually like made here, designed here, small business to small business. So we got set up with that, and wow, the first month response was awesome and very exciting. One of the most popular things though on Fair for me, is the embroidery hoop kits. These are like the Arcadian Rose and the Pennsylvania Posy and the Byzantine Acanthus. Those are just really popular right now. And I love that those historic images are being presented to people in such an accessible format. I mean, it's just a little embroidery hoop kit. So it's a great introduction to embroidery and to kind of the art historic motifs of textiles. I mean, it's just wonderful. So I wanted to put more effort into that. So I'm currently working on 6 new hoop kit designs. Now, one is this amazing, we're going to call it, I think, Persian Cypress, and it's really cool. It's actually based on a Byzantine textile fragment that has paisleys in it, which is super cool. Another one is a Byzantine griffin. Oh my word, so cool. You have no idea. That one's been on my to-do list for months and months. It's very, very cool. I found it in this little old research book. But the 2 that I'm working on, and then there's one, we're currently calling it Alstroemeria, but I'm going to probably change that. But it's from a brass coffee tray that I actually found in a flea market in Thessaloniki a number of years ago. And it's got this beautiful floral design. But the 2 that are basically right now in production, we're having the stamps made and I'm stitching the samples and all that stuff. I thought I'd just give you a sneak peek at the designs because they're really cool. The first one is Cretan Starburst. So it's going to be this really cool, and again, this is just my working copy because I don't even have the stamp yet. The stamp is being made. And so this is it. It's a really cool starburst design, and we'll probably be working that with a lot of satin stitch, Maybe some chain stitch on this one could be really fun. And I'm going to be using a classic Cretan colorway of green, blue, coral, and gold. It's very classic for Cretan embroidery work. Cretan embroidery work is different than a lot of other Mediterranean folk embroidery work in that, I mean, they did do cross stitch, but they actually had these very, very lavish skirts that were highly embroidered, sometimes like 2 feet of embroidery. And their most popular stitch was actually called the Cretan stitch. And it's sort of like a Pekingese stitch, so we'll probably do some of that too. So Cretan Starburst, current working title. May switch that, don't know. But this one I'm super excited about. I have wanted to offer a pomegranate design for a really long time. And this is going to be our Thessalonian pomegranate design. And it's out of a 15th century textile fragment. So that one's going to be really amazing. I'm waiting for the stamp to arrive because I'm not sure what colors I want to use yet. So that one's going to be super fun. So I thought I'd show you those. Now, so that's on the hoop kit side, all the embroidery stuff. Moving along to the cross stitch side of things. Wow, actually, like a week or two ago, I was like, gosh, I don't really have that much to share on FlossTube. And then bingo, I have a ton of stuff to share with you today. So one of my sample stitchers just finished this design that will go live really soon. It's called, I'm going to call it Rhodian Jewel, I think. I'm still working on the names. You know, the names are really important to me. I spend probably almost as much time actually choosing the name and researching the names and making sure that I'm using the correct terminology for things as I do in the actual design, which is kind of funny. But I really feel like the names are important. So I think this one's going to be Rhodian Jewel. But it does come from Rhodes. The design is really unique. I'm going to get it close up there. Isn't that starbursty thing right here? Isn't that just the coolest? I just feel like that is just the most unique use of simple little lines of cross stitches. And then it has a little bit of back stitching here. Let me see if I can get closer to create this like almost like little spearhead. It's really neat. And then it's got these gorgeous little like rectangle-y things with these other little spearheads. They're very cool. I worked it in a blue and copper colorway, but the design would lend itself to basically being worked in whatever 2 colors you think would look great. It could look great in red and black. It could look great in 2 shades of green. If you're into purple, it could look good in purple. You could work it in 2 shades of blue. There's a lot you can do with this design. 2-color designs are really awesome if you're kind of new to changing out colors to what you want because it's only 2 colors. And it's pretty rare for almost any 2 colors to not like work together in some way. So there's a lot of ways that you could use this design. We've done it as a square, but as like a square with a drawn thread hem finish. But as you can see, it would make an awesome pillow. I think this would be just a really incredible cushion cover, like just so cool. And as long as we're talking about this, we can have just a little sidebar here for what's going on in the interior design world right now. And I just thought I should mention this because I'm really excited about it. So for the last probably decade or so, in interior design and home design and furniture and interior decor and all of that, we've been having our little love affair with mid-century modern and minimalism and all that kind of stuff. Now, that's not to say I don't like mid-century modern. I actually have a mid-century modern couch in my basement that I actually dearly love, and it's very cool. It's very chic. It has these little curved, curved back. It's very cool. But a lot of mid-century and minimalism is so stark that I find that a little bit off-putting personally. And I have always tended towards sort of a warmer colors, textures in my own home and in just my own personal preferences. Well, I'm happy to report that kind of we're getting ready, it's a new decade, and we're seeing new design trends start to take hold. One of the ones that we're going to start seeing over the next couple of years is called grand millennial decor. And essentially the idea behind it, it's millennials who want their houses to look like what they remember the grandparents' house looking like. So if you like textiles, if you like things to kind of mix and match, if you like, a little bit of, a vintage piece or an antique piece, or if you like brown wood. Okay, for those of you who follow interior stuff, brown wood has been out for like years. In fact, funny story, I was very concerned when we were first starting on Avlea that I was shooting everything. I was taking all the photographs on all of my brown wood furniture, because while the rest of the world, like, you know, didn't love brown wood, I still really like it. And like, I have a Duncan 5 dining room table, and I have a leather topped antique piece, and I have different things like that, and I still really like them. And they look beautiful with the embroideries. So, I was a little worried about that. So I'm kind of really happy that this grand millennial decor is coming back in, because it's very textile friendly. It wants those mix and match pillows on your couch that have, you know, maybe you're going to make Rhodian Jewel and like turn that into a cushion cover. And then you're going to mix that with like a twee print fabric too. Or you're going to put something kind of really like a loud print on the back of it as a cushion backing. There's just so much you can do. And it's a lot about personal expression. And it's also a lot about your environment having meaning to you. And I've always felt like in interior design, that's the most important thing, is what does your environment mean to you? Are you intentional about your environment and what things you're putting in, what things you're adding, what things you're subtracting? That's really important. So grand millennial decor, for those of us who stitch and are textile nerds, it is our friend. So I'm really curious to kind of watch how the next few years go with this design trend. But I think we could see an even greater embracing of textiles and handcraft, and this sort of renaissance of handcraft that's been going on for the last number of years. I think honestly, we're kind of just at the tip of the iceberg, which is really, really wonderful. So next up in designs is, okay, everybody's been asking me about Cypress and Hollyhock, and I am so sorry I have not gotten this up on the website yet. Part of it is I used it as a cushion cover demo piece, and then I was trying to figure out how to finish it, and then I just decided, you know what, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to take a picture of like just the embroidery. But this is the really sweet little Cypress and Hollyhock. I just think it's a great design. It's just a little design I put together a few months ago, and one of my friends stitched it up for me. And it's just really charming. It could be a cushion cover. It could be a wall hanging for a child's room. Oh, wouldn't this look sweet? As a little like wall hanging with a little wooden tapestry rod dowel, like and hung on the wall. It'd just be so, so, so sweet. So anyways, I'll get that up shortly. I'm actually photographing it next week, and then it should go live pretty soon. So Cypress and Hollyhock. Oh, and yeah, just to explain that, these little cypress trees, you find these like all the time in Mediterranean embroidery. The cypress tree is a very, very common vegetative motif. Now, oh, I know, before I forget. Oh my word, thank you to everyone who sent me nice emails or messaged me through Instagram about my hands. My little hands, which I love, which have been having troubles lately. I'm very happy to report that I took a couple of weeks off stitching, and I'm doing a lot better now. And I actually go in to see a secondhand specialist who specializes in difficult cases like mine. You can just basically read that as a person who will not stop using her hands. So, but I go to see him in a couple of weeks, and I'm very hopeful. So I think things are going to work out very, very well. And I am back to doing some stitching, which I am really excited about, because 2 weeks without stitching was 2 weeks I don't really choose to repeat. It was not fun. So, because I sat around just kind of bored. I mean, I cleaned out all my cupboards and I did all this other stuff that probably needed to be done, but I really would have rather been stitching. So now, next up on the design field is very exciting. Now, many of you have found the Mediterranean Motif pincushion kits. Ooh, do I have one right now? I don't. They're all full of pins, so you wouldn't see the design. No, I don't. I mean, they're here, but they're totally stuffed full of pins. The Mediterranean Motif design, those patterns, there's 4 of them. They're bit kits, and they're 4 pincushion designs. They're offered in both a red colorway and then a white and blue colorway. Those designs are a scroll, a carnation, a cross, and a star, which I put together like 4 of the very basic sort of bedrock motifs that are used in a lot of Mediterranean work. Well, the scroll design I actually found from a Prica piece that I actually was able to acquire from Greece that had this really cool scroll design. While we've been getting all of that ready as the Mediterranean Motif pincushion kits, I also have one of my stitchers who has been working on it as a table runner piece. And so this is the design in its full iteration. Now, you'll notice something, and this again, well, I mean, This is on tea dyed Mickany. So I dyed the Mickany, the white, bright white Mickany with tea. We're hoping to get ivory Mickany in really soon. I'm really hoping to have that from Greece. And you'll notice that each element is a square, okay? So you can take these two squares and you can make as many of them as you want. Now you'll see in the center here is the central scroll motif that I then adapted and made a little different for the pincushion kits. But this is the original piece. Actually, this is the one we worked. I think I showed the original in one of the other floss tubes. But this one is really cool because it's an awesome design because you can just choose how big you want it. So like, for example, I could work these two and then I could work two more of them. And now I have like awesome cushion cover or a square table mat. Or say I want to make a table cushion, a table mat, a table runner that's longer. Well, then I would then work, see if you can bear with me. I'd work two and then two more and maybe even two more. That's actually how the original was. The original was a 2x4 array. If you understand what that means, it means two across, two across, two across, two across. 4 rows of 2. You could run it. You could also, I also thought this would be super cool as a table runner, worked with motifs, all just a single square motif repeated over and over again, one long band, and then maybe like a really big hem allowance and like a little drawn thread hem so that that design would just be right down the middle of like a longer table runner. That would look amazing. But I love the versatility of this design. It's also another awesome design to play around with colors because, let me get up close so I can show you this. There are only 3 colors used in this design. The red color is 815 garnet. Is it 815 or 816? It's 815, I think. The kind of taupey color is 3032 DMC medium mocha brown. And then it's got black outlining. So the really cool thing about this is you could just switch, you could keep the medium mocha brown, you could keep the black, and you can switch out that garnet to whatever color you want. This would look really cool worked with a blue instead of the garnet. It would, and then you could decide on the medium mocha brown, you could maybe switch that out to something like 317 pewter gray. You could do that kind of gray and blue look. You could switch this out to a brighter red. You could switch it out to a green, which would look lovely. Like the 3012 soft olive green would be amazing on this. So again, a very versatile design, worked on 30 count. That would be really great. So this will be out shortly. Then last up, maybe the last thing I share today is, okay, this was such a find. I happened to just find this online. This amazing historic runner from Athens. Can we just have a moment? I mean, really, look at this baby. It's so awesome. Okay, so I'm going to show you that way. And then I'm going to get up close, okay, and show you this part. This is just a beautiful example of traditional embroidery done on the traditional ground cloth, because that's what this is. It's actually done on the traditional ground cloth. I don't know when it dates to, but I'm guessing sometime in the last probably 30 to 50 years. And it was really cool. It came as a set, like many Greek cloths like this. The table runner is actually worked for the coffee table, which always sits in front of the couch. And then usually on either side of the couch are 2 little end tables with lamps. And that's where these could have gone. These are the smaller version of it, which is really great. And then you can see there, okay, so let's talk a little bit about this design because it's really, really great. Currently, I'm calling this design Little Diamonds because when I got in and started embroidering it, what I found so amazing was that it's all diamonds. Like every little element basically is based on a diamond motif. We've got diamonds here. We've got half diamonds here. We've got broken diamonds here. We've got this, which is a bigger diamond. We've got smaller diamonds in a gammadion. This is called a gammadion. It comes from the gamma, the letter G sort of in Greek. We've got diamonds down here. We've got parts of diamonds. I mean, it's just Diamond Palooza. It's so cool. It's an amazing example of a single embroidery motif just basically being played with in every permutation the person could think of. It's really cool. It's also worked in 3 shades with black. So it's worked in a medium, light, and dark, and then black is that color that kind of brings everything together as a frame. So like there's some black outlining. There's some of the stitches and it's done in black to throw that kind of almost like ombre effect down here into greater relief. This is just an amazing piece. And then when I started to sit down and actually design the pattern, so I've designed the pattern, and it will go live again in probably a couple weeks. And it will be actually a full pattern and available as a kit. The table runner version that I'll have will be slightly, it will not be quite as long as this. And that has to do with the fact that the width of the traditional ground cloth fabric, I was trying to keep the kit as economical as possible. And to do that, I need to keep it to a 35-inch piece of fabric as opposed to a 39-inch piece of fabric. The other thing I love about this design, there's some more things to talk about with this design. First off, it's a great example of a design that is not finished with drawn thread hem. This one, if you can look at the back, is finished with just a simple hem. It's just hemmed. It's just a basic hem. And you can see that some designs are more striking with no negative space around them. So I just wanted to put that out there because I know some people struggle with the drawn thread hem. You don't have to do the drawn thread hem. I mean, I didn't even do the drawn thread hem on any of my pieces until starting a couple of years ago. And then I just kind of went on this drawn thread hem, jag for a long time. But some pieces, I think, especially when they have these little mini borders here on the outside, you know what? Just dispense with that drawn thread hem, dispense with that white space, and just give it a basic old hem. The other thing that's really cool on this one too is they did take the extra fabric and they turned it into tassels. Let me see if I can show you the best way to do this. But they basically, when they got done, they basically pulled out a bunch of the threads and made the tassels out of the traditional ground cloth. And then they made, if I can get close enough there we go. They made little floss tassels here and tied them in, which is a really cool finish if you like tassels. The final thing that is super cool about this design, and I honestly didn't even figure it out until I was really almost done with the design. I was actually I had done all the borders. I mapped out all the borders, all the ombre work, the diamonds, and then I got to here and I was like, what? So, a little bit of explanation. Most folk embroidery patterns and designs are based on either 1-stitch axis or 2-stitch axis. So stay with me for a minute. So basically, if you're going to cross stitch a little diamond, it means that it goes 1 cross stitch and then 3 cross stitches and then 5 and then 3 and then 1. Okay, so that's a little diamond on a 1 axis. Sometimes though, you have diamonds that are stitched on 2 axes. So that one looks like you have 2 little cross stitches and then 4 and then 6 and then 4 and then 2. Okay. Most folk, in fact, to this point, all folk embroidery designs that I have looked at either work on a 1-stitch axis or a 2-stitch axis because it impacts how the design works mathematically, I guess is the best way to say that. This one, though, broke the rules, and it was so cool. It blew my mind. I'm running around my house, trying to explain 1-stitch and 2-stitch axis to my husband, and he is very graciously, nodding his head and acting like he's interested, even when it's, super obscure and weird. But here I am. So this is what happens. It's so cool. This cross here, let me see if I can get close enough to show you what it does. Okay, so these little diamonds here, as you can see, these little guys, these are done on a 2-stitch axis. 2, 4, 6, 8, 6, 4, 2, and they go up. But then, oh my word, you get up here to this top kind of diamond design, and now you're suddenly on a 1 axis. So what they do, it's really clever. You've got the 2-stitch axis going up. When they get to that part where it becomes a 1-stitch axis, they literally take 1 thread from the how do I say this? 1 thread from half of the 2 and 1 thread from the other half, and they basically float that 1-stitch axis right down the center of the 2-stitch axis motif. And that may have been super boring, and I'm okay with that. If you found that boring, for me, it blew my mind. But I'd never seen that before, and I thought it was really cool that they'd figured out how to make both work. And that it just never occurred to me that you could split the threads literally down to the single thread, which was really cool. So that is pretty much what's been going on in the workshop. If you have any questions, if you want to be notified when things release, definitely sign up for the emails. I'm doing I pretty much do all of my notifications, any big stuff I do by email. And that is because of a little thing called permission marketing. And it basically means that I respect your time. And that is really important to me, that I respect your time. So, you know, you can get my email, sign up for them. I never send more than once a month, one a week. Okay, unless like I have something else going on, but I try not to send more than one a week at the maximum. And usually I'll remind you of what the monthly special is. And then it'll be like, you know, well, this pattern just released or this released or whatever. You can always just go to the website and look under all designs, and all the new stuff is shown first. So thank you so much for spending some time with me and spending some time in the lovely world of Mediterranean textiles. I wish you all happy stitching, and stay warm and stay well and stay safe. Take care.